Hi guys, welcome back. Today I want to share with you 5 red flags that when I see in a relationship makes me worry that a breakup might be coming. Before I get into mine, what do you think is a red flag that a relationship is ending? Because I have a feeling there are some clever ones that I haven't thought of that you guys will have thought of, so pop those in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's talk about it. 5 signs that a relationship is probably not going to last much longer. So the very first red flag that I have for relationships is when they're just too much too fast. I unfortunately do think there is a bit of truth to the phrase, what starts fast ends fast, or fires that start quickly also burn out quickly. And I'm not talking here about people who fell in love at first sight or who knew early on that they wanted to be with their partner. I think that's sweet, and I think that's way better than the alternative of stringing someone along for years and years without having a clear-cut picture of whether you want to be with them. I'm also not talking about culturally normative practices here like arranged marriages, because that is a cultural norm. There's nothing abnormal about adhering to it, and actually they tend to have pretty positive outcomes overall. What I'm talking about here is people in a Western culture who seem to jump into relationships with a very brash, impulsive, almost desperate type of energy, who kind of skip over pivotal stages of the relationship's development. I'm talking here about behaviors, not feelings. So for example, what I'm talking about is not, I knew I wanted to marry her on our 3rd date, but rather I asked her to marry me on our 3rd date. I'm talking about couples who meet and then suddenly they're spending every night of the week together, or who move in together after a month of dating, or who met online, had like a long distance relationship, and then that person moves to their country and they're engaged, like on 90 Day Fiancé. This is concerning to me for a number of different reasons. One is that it could be love bombing, which is an emotional abuse technique where somebody tries to win you over very quickly so that you become hooked on them, makes all these grand promises that they're not going to follow up on, wants for you to be more easily manipulated. Another reason why relationships starting too fast is concerning to me is because whenever there is an extreme amount of idealization, the pendulum usually swings to the opposite of devaluation at some point. And so in my experience, any type of relationship, not even necessarily just romantic, where two people seem to suddenly be really into each other, spending all their time together, praising each other to the heavens, especially if they don't actually know each other very well, it's a very new relationship, like clockwork. At some point, the pendulum swings and they have a really bad falling out and things get really ugly. And a third reason why this concerns me is that when you don't know each other very well, there are a lot of potential incompatibilities there that you're not aware of, whether it's lifestyle, core values, communication, issues that probably will make themselves known later on in the relationship, probably sooner than you think. So you jump into something thinking, oh my God, this person is incredible, but you don't actually know them. And later on, when you get to know them, you realize actually they're not that good of a fit for me. This is also why I'm a little bit concerned by some of the divine femininity advice that is given out on the internet these days. Because a lot of it is telling women that they should expect this sort of really intense relationship really fast, jump into an engagement, jump into a marriage because your man should see your worth, he should see you as high value. And that can be very dangerous if you don't actually know the person. And I think it could be setting up an entire generation of women to end up in potentially dangerous marriages. Love bombing also makes it much harder to leave a relationship when issues do come up because, like I said, you're hooked onto that person. You had so many highs in the beginning of the relationship that you're still hoping the relationship is going to go back to, and it makes it very difficult to escape the cycle of abuse. So that's red flag number 1, is when I hear of a whirlwind romance, my first thought is usually, oof, I hope this doesn't end as quickly as it started. Red flag number 2 is a very short honeymoon period. Now, I've spoken before about how I don't believe in a honeymoon phase per se. I believe that the components of a honeymoon phase should follow you throughout your relationship. And if you are actively putting in the work to keep those elements of a relationship, to keep admiring your partner, not taking them for granted, spending quality time, thinking they're just like the best person in the world. If you're doing those things, there shouldn't be like a honeymoon period. It should be a honeymoon relationship. But the fact of the matter is that that is not reality for most people. For most people, there is a honeymoon period that lasts somewhere around 3 to 6 months where they have very high satisfaction in the relationship. They feel very positively towards this person. And after that initial excitement wears off, they start to have a little bit more of a nuanced, realistic view of their partner. Now, research shows that people tend to be the most satisfied with their partners in the very beginning of the relationship. Certainly not all relationships, but we can't assume that we're going to be the exception to the rule when going into relationships. So when people have a very short honeymoon phase, or a non-existent one, where they're already dissatisfied with their partner within the first 0 to 6 months, there's a good chance that things are only going to go further downhill from there. Personally, I think that idealizing your partner should last at least 6 to 12 months, and that you should continue to keep that spark alive by appreciating them, by being grateful to them, by admiring them continuously throughout the relationship. Now, you might be hearing this and wondering, like, wait a minute, aren't 1 and 2 contradictions? No, because like I said, number 1 is about behaviors. Number 2 is about attitudes and feelings. You want to hold an extremely positive attitude towards your partner for as long as possible, but you don't want for that to mean you're jumping into things too quickly. So if someone is already complaining to their friends about their partner and it's only been a few months, in my mind, I usually go, I don't know if this is going to last very long. Number 3 is overcompensating. And here I'm talking specifically about like overposting or going overboard with PDA. This is basically the concept of reaction formation. It's a defense mechanism I've spoken about on this channel before, where basically somebody is trying to portray themselves as feeling the very opposite of how they're feeling. So if somebody's feeling unhappy in their relationship, they might try to overcompensate for that, talking constantly about how happy they are. So I'm talking about like the dude who posts 3 paragraphs on Instagram about his wife on her birthday, who, if you actually knew him, goes to strip clubs when he's out of town. Or the woman who turns her picture-perfect relationship into lifestyle content, and later she reveals that actually it was emotionally abusive. I even remember once with my high school partner, I commented on a photo of the two of us saying we look so happy here, and it was so ironic because I was miserable in that relationship. I'm pretty sure we'd had a fight that very day. There's nothing wrong with showing appreciation for your partner on a public forum. I certainly speak highly of my husband on this channel, for example. But when it's done excessively, or if it's something that would be better communicated privately or intimately, I wonder about that. You know, like, why is it necessary to share your private wedding vows in the caption of a Facebook photo, for instance? You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between snapping a picture of your beloved because you think they look really cute and wanting to show it off to other people versus writing something publicly that should have been communicated on a more intimate scale in like a private birthday card, for instance. At that point, it's like, what do you even write in a private birthday card? Because you already wrote everything publicly. Did you write this for your partner, or did you write this for everybody else who's reading it? So overdoing it on the PDA or the cyber PDA is a red flag for me that a relationship might be headed for a breakup, and that there might actually be very unhappy stuff going on behind the scenes. Number 4, this one's going to be controversial, but I don't care. Desire for other people. I think that for many people, when you're in a happy relationship, you no longer feel attraction to other people. And I think this is particularly true for a lot of women. Now, there's a difference between being able to acknowledge that someone is conventionally attractive and actually being attracted to them. Acknowledging someone's attractive is indifferent. There's a lack of emotional investment in it. It's devoid of yearning. It's just like saying, yeah, she's pretty. Being attracted to someone implies there's a level of magnetism, a pull towards that person, an energetic pull that can be difficult to resist. Now, what I've personally noticed is that when people, particularly women, are unhappy in their relationships, they tend to be more attracted to people other than their partner. Maybe because they're unconsciously looking for a way out of the relationship, and they're not ready to admit it to themselves yet. And of course, once you're attracted to someone else, once you're investing energy into fulfilling that magnetism by fantasizing about them, brainstorming excuses to talk to them, getting dressed up because you know you're going to see them that day, your relationship takes the back burner. And that's bound to take an effect. A caveat here, I do think some people are more what's called sociosexual than others, which is they have more of a propensity to just be attracted to people no matter what, even when they're in a relationship. I can think of a couple male friends I've had over the years who flat out told me, yeah, even when I'm in a relationship, I still have a wandering eye. I still yearn for other people. There are some people like that who may never stop being attracted outside of their relationship. But guess what? That doesn't mean it's not going to affect their relationship, because your partner might feel hurt or unwanted or jealous, because you might start investing energy in other people over your partner, because you might be looking for a way out of this relationship, and because it might indicate that your needs aren't really being met fully in this relationship. So whenever I hear someone who's in a relationship saying things like, wow, she's hot, about someone other than their partner, I smell trouble in paradise and I immediately wonder how long they're gonna last. And lastly, red flag number 5 is ambivalence about each other, where one or both of the partners are already starting to think about leaving the relationship. This one feels like it should be obvious, but people are often quite blind to it when they're in it themselves. People will go to therapy or vent to their friends asking, do you think this is the right person for me? Do you think I should break up with this person? Like, what should I do? If you're asking yourself whether this should end, you already know the answer deep down, because most people are in complete denial about their partner. They do not want to lose this person. They want to preserve the relationship at all costs. So by the time they start contemplating ending it, it's because things have already gotten to a point where it's moved out of their unconscious and into their conscious mind. And by the time that happens, things are usually so bad that everyone around this person is saying, yes, dude, obviously. Obviously, everyone has been saying for months that you guys should break up, that you're no good for each other. Now, caveat here is there are people with an avoidant attachment style who sometimes contemplate breaking up with their partner even when everything's fine, just because they tend to run away from intimacy. But even still then, that's usually a red flag that they might break up. So whenever I hear someone being on the fence about being with their partner, being kind of ambivalent or in the pre-contemplation or contemplation stage of breaking up with them, I usually go, I give them a couple months. In conclusion, 5 red flags that make me wonder if a breakup is coming is too much too fast, short honeymoon period, overcompensating, desire for other people, and feelings of ambivalence. Which ones did you think I missed? Pop them down in the comments below, and I'll see you soon.